Zoli, how do we get through hard times if we don't know they're coming and we haven't done anything to inner work to prepare?
I think every now and then, and what a great question. Every now and then, we're going to get hit with stuff like that. And it's a shocking experience. When these things happen on a really large scale, it can be called a black swan event like 9/11. I wouldn't call COVID an immediate black swan event, but these things are wake up calls and they wake us up to greater potential. And if we haven't prepared, it's going to show us where we're weak and where we need to prepare. And I don't know how anybody on the planet, even if you're a super prepper, can prepare for anything and everything because surprise is part of life. It's part of how we are awakened from our slumber of complacency. And this world is going through a period of shocking events. And I think it will continue for a little bit because God knows we need to clean up the planet, clean up our own lives, clean up our relations with others. And sometimes those things that come from the outside can instigate that sort of healing, but it's a crisis and it's scary and it hurts. I know just what that feels like. My God, people are having a hard time. But how do we uplift ourselves from from the gravity of the situation? And I say gravity as a double entendre because I joke and say, well, emotions and gravity are the two enemies of humanity. And so when something is grave and it holds us into the physical to where we cannot see an opportunity to uplift ourselves out of it, it may be hard for some time. And that is when we try to call on resources, if we can, to get help from like minded others. The government is not a business, it is not there to run your life. However, there are agencies that might be available. So we look for resources, but the resources, if we haven't prepared, and if you have, good on you. If you haven't, maybe your life is so crazy busy that it's not in your wheelhouse to do that. So, how do we avoid that? Well, we avoid that by trying to prepare at least somehow. When in the world have human beings done what we've done now? We're nuts. When have human beings not had a storage of food, clothing, um, water, medications, things that you need? This is how the world has been run. And the shortages of these things has been apparent, of course. Have any of you guys ever been in a situation where I experienced bad ice storms back in Olympia when I ran my farm. Oh my God, these ice storms would come through and everything was like a luge course. It was insane. So when people could, they'd go to the store and the stores were raped. There was nothing after 3 days, nothing. And a couple times they couldn't be refilled because trucks couldn't travel the roads. This isn't an Armageddon situation. This is a situation where we would hope that we will have enough saved and stored to be able to survive because the lower chakras are very activated when these things happen. Either a black swan event, a personal crisis, earthquake, hurricane, tornado, tree falling on the house, any sort of earthly drama that is happening all over the world. Something's happening somewhere all the time, clearly. So, what do you do if you haven't prepared? Well, you're going to have a hard time. You are going to have a rough time. you'll do one or two things because we're all human. We will panic. We will go into fear, anger, all the grief cycle. We will look for help. We will ask for help. Hopefully, we will be able to get it. So here's my solution. The in the United States, I don't know how it is up there in Canada, but the Red Cross, for years, they put out ideas and things that you should have for, they say, 3 days. Now I think it's at least a week, if not two. And they're a wonderful agency. The Red Cross 90, if you look on Charity Navigator, which is the go to place for 501c3s or charity organizations that says how much of their donations go for what you think it is. Well, the Red Cross, I think it's 99%. They're highly ethical and they help people. They're trained to help people. But they're like, we can't help you if we can't get to you. Up here in the mountains in Montana, remote, you better be prepared. You guys live out in the woods in Canada. So we know from past experience what we need to do to get ready. If we put that off, we're screwed. We really are. Nobody's getting up here on ice roads that you need a mule. I don't know if a mule could make it up here. But if you're living in the cities and if you're living in apartment, high rise, whatever, I would suggest to search for the Red Cross site. What did they suggest? You don't need to fill your house, your apartment with supplies for 40 years. What you need to do is to be prepared until services can reach you. However, how wonderful if you're prepared, even when services reach you, you say, we're fine and we've been able to help neighbors. You may live in a neighborhood where you guys have discussed this. Good on you. That is really cool. So there's all kind of ways that we can help ourselves if we haven't. We can prepare for the next time it happens because it will. It's not if something happens, it's when it does. But our fear is our greatest enemy. Our emotions take over because we're born with this reptilian brain and limbic system that prepares us to fight when things happen. So, this is how we are. So, we have to learn to prepare ourselves emotionally too. That's my take on it.